Instacart this past week announced aggressive price savings of $0 delivery fees on next day grocery orders over $10. According to an Instacart press release, the next day delivery option waives the fee, which is right now a $7.99 value, but is not applicable to orders from convenience, club, alcohol, and dollar stores. Chris, let's get your quick take on this. How significant do you feel Instacart's waiving of fees on next day orders is?
I actually think this is very significant. I think it's telling for a number of reasons. I think one, I read this as I read this a little bit in Instacart's business model. I read it as their core same day model may be continuing to struggle. So Instacart is trying to goose up new volume. And to do so, they're playing on what we've talked about long and hard over the past 2 years. And that is the hurdle of just getting in my car and going to the local grocery store, which aside from a tank of gas is basically free. Like it doesn't cost me anything. So I think that's a part of this. I really do. And so now Instacart's trying to take a page out of Bunch's book, like we've talked a lot about on this show, and trying to get consumers to essentially batch order groceries in advance and therefore lowering the operating costs for an Instacart. That's the whole idea here. And we've seen this in Europe. So I can't wait to get Ben's take on it too. And so as we've long predicted, I think lowering costs in this way for customers that don't need their grocery orders same day is probably a trend we're going to start to see more of here in the States. And so that is interesting in and of itself to me, that this could be the start of a trend if Instacart gets behind it. But the other thing is, this also flies in the face of Amazon's grocery strategy. We go back to the top headline, flies squarely in the face of that and their recently announced grocery subscription. So why am I paying for this if I can just delay my orders if I don't need same day? It just seems like that's a whole nother topic. But so yeah, for those reasons, I think it's very significant.
Ben, what about you? Do you agree with Chris?
Oh yeah, 100%. I think this is really significant, and there's loads to unpick and loads to try and understand about it. So I guess, like, as succinctly as I can, it's a benefit that was available to the Instacart Plus holders, but it's now saying actually for everybody, you just want to wait till tomorrow, no charge. That's huge.
Not
That's
even tomorrow. Like I looked yesterday, and you could even have like the evening. If you look in the morning, you could even have eevning delivery.
Super safe.
Yeah.
I mean, you've still got to pay the service charge. You've still got to tip your driver.
You do, yeah.
There's still 20% that's 15-20% going to be added onto your bill. So it's not free, as you say. There's certain channels where you can't do it. So you can't get your cigarettes and alcohol, but you can get your regular shopping basket. Yeah, and that's what Instacart needs to build for. I mean, the head shrinker for me on the whole thing is how they're making any money out of this.
Right.
Same thing. So, yes.
And look, I've got so Fiji Simo, the Instacart chair and CEO, is going to be joining us to do one of the keynotes at Grocery Shop next month. I've got the privilege of doing that one, and I will 100% be asking her because, are they going to be taking this off the customers? So are we going to see service charges creep up, the item margins creep up? Or are they going to be driving this lost money through trade? So
that's the question that I have, Ben, because I think, if you look at what they're doing, they also announced that they're bringing the digital circulars onto the platform. So I think the customer experience of shopping that is very different too. Like now when I pull up my Instacart app, I see all the things and I can order from a variety of different retailers. And so I think that there's a lot going into that I have to imagine that that's coming into play here to make this pencil, but Chris.
So is it at the point where the retail media revenue is generating this flywheel, the adjacent revenues, the cable card being sold over the connected store, is that enabling them to invest back into the core retail business to lower the price to customers? And if that's the case, that's going to be really interesting. Going back to what you were saying about Amazon earlier, Chris.
Yeah, I didn't think about the retail media angle here too. God, this is a very significant story when you just think of all the different angles we've talked about thus far. And the question for me is that enough to cover the costs? I have no idea the scale, depending on what that ultimately looks like in the long run, because no one's ever tried this before either. So
especially when you're losing that recurring monthly subscription revenue or annual subscription revenue that this is now offered to anyone. Like I think that to me is like
it's kind of risky too. Yeah, you're right.
The set it and forget it thing that you take advantage of here with people who subscribed and are used to getting these benefits, but now anyone can just jump on the platform. So
the other question it raises for me, and too, is like, what becomes but just to go on to this, because I think it's fascinating. Like, what becomes the standard, right? We had 2-day shipping as the standard, but now what is the standard for grocery delivery? Is it like I wait 3 days to get my order and I don't pay anything extra? Is it a day? You know, how does this all level out? I have no idea what that's going to look like, but I imagine we're not far off from seeing that here in the States.
And a great use case for things like AI to try to help with loading and trying to like do that, like the sliding scale, even if I'm ordering, like if I order in the next 2 hours and I'm going to batch it I can get it at this time for this price, like being able to lever that up and down is
okay.
possible.
And then, oh my God, you're going to have to stop me because then we go into, okay, once we level set the consumer expectation, what's the best way to operate that? Do you have your own W-2 drivers? Are you doing this with gig workers? Like those are all the questions that are still outstanding that are, oh man, this is great.
Yeah.
So